Okay, so England, Euro 2020 and Euro 2024. Two consecutive European Championship finals, back to back. And yet somehow the conversation around this team still has this slightly apologetic quality, like people feel embarrassed to say it out loud. Yeah, England might actually win this thing. I get why. Euro 2024 was not a good tournament from England, not even close. They were seconds away from going out against Slovakia in the round of 16. They scraped past Switzerland on penalties. They needed a late Ollie Watkins winner to beat the Netherlands. The Spain final was, by most accounts, a reminder that England still have a level above them when it comes to controlling a game through possession and movement. So I'm not here to tell you Euro 2024 was evidence of a great England team. It wasn't. It was evidence of a resilient one that had enough individual talent to survive its own tactical limitations. But here's what I think people are getting slightly wrong when they dismiss England going into 2026. They're judging the peak of what England showed in that tournament, which was mediocre, rather than the ceiling of what this squad is actually capable of, with the right coaching structure and 2 more years of development. Those are different things, and the ceiling, I think, is genuinely high. Let me start with Bellingham, because you have to. Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid in 2023-24 was operating at a level that honestly still doesn't feel entirely real when you go back and watch it. Over 20 goals in all competitions in a Champions League winning season, from midfield, not tap-ins, goals that required vision, timing, runs that he was making at the exact right moment. The bicycle kick against Slovakia at Euro 2024, fine, but more than that, the consistency. The way he'd arrive late into the box and not look like a midfielder arriving late into the box. He looked like he belonged there. Under Southgate, England rarely unlocked that version of him. There was a structural hesitance about letting Bellingham roam forward freely when the team needed defensive coverage, which is a fair concern. I'm not saying Southgate was wrong to think about it, but the consequence was that England's most dynamic attacker spent chunks of tournament football playing a version of himself that was about 20% less dangerous than what he does week in, week out at club level. Now, under Tuchel, and I'll be honest, I'm not fully convinced yet about what Tuchel's England actually looks like at tournament level, but what I do think is that he's more likely to build the system around releasing Bellingham's best qualities rather than containing them. That's not guaranteed, but the tendency is there. The other player I think people undervalue in this conversation is Declan Rice. At Arsenal, Rice has become something I wasn't entirely sure he could become. A midfielder who genuinely controls tempo, who reads the room, who knows when to hold the ball and when to drive forward and when to recycle quickly. The progressive carries, the press resistance, the ability to shift the tempo of a game just by where he positions himself. It's all there. But at England, there's still this tendency to use him almost purely as a defensive anchor, which is fine, but it's also leaving half his game in the car park. The question for England in 2026 is whether the midfield structure around him gives Rice the freedom to operate the way he does for Arteta. I think that's more important than whether England have a creative number 10 or whatever the traditional debate always circles back to. And if England can get players like Foden and Saka functioning together in the same attacking structure, which sounds simple but historically hasn't been, that wide combination should frighten teams. Foden at his best creates problems that are genuinely hard to plan for, because he moves and receives differently to any other player on the pitch. Saka is more consistent, more reliable in terms of showing up and doing the job, regardless of how the team is set up around him. When both of them are running hot in the same game, England's attacking third becomes a very difficult place to manage. The problem historically has been getting the system to ask that of both of them simultaneously. Here's something that gets brought up less than it should. England's set pieces. Under Southgate, they were legitimately dangerous from corners and free kicks. That's not nothing. In a tournament that often gets decided by margins, one goal, one mistake, one set-piece routine that the opposing defense didn't account for, having a team that can actually execute organized dead ball situations is a meaningful advantage. England scored important goals from set pieces across multiple tournaments. Not all of them were beautiful, but they counted. I have a specific interest in how teams use free kicks as a tactical weapon, and England, when they've been organized, have shown real variation. Different runners, different timing, different delivery options. It's not always the headline part of the analysis, but it's real. There are things I'm less certain about, and I think it's worth being honest about that rather than just building a case and ignoring the counter-arguments. The forward line situation is genuinely complicated. Harry Kane is still there, and his numbers at Bayern remain absurd. He'll probably end up as one of the top scorers in Bundesliga history at this rate. But Kane, at a World Cup, has historically been a player whose output is tied to how well England supply him. When the service is good, he's devastating. When it isn't, you can spend 90 minutes watching one of the best strikers on the planet run channels that never open and win headers that never lead anywhere. The concern isn't Kane's quality. It's whether 2026 England build an attack that genuinely serves his movement, or whether they end up in the same pattern where he drops deep to get the ball. The team loses its central reference point, and the whole attack becomes slightly shapeless. Also, and I realize this is a contentious thing to say, I think the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation at international level is still unsettled in a way that could become a problem. His development at club level into a more interior role has been fascinating to watch, but exactly what that means for England, the partnership around him, the defensive responsibility, the positional clarity, none of that feels fully resolved yet. And in a tournament, ambiguity in your shape tends to get punished. The competition question matters too, and I don't think England fans always think about it honestly enough. France, when Mbappe is fully invested and the squad is actually pulling in the same direction, which is admittedly two significant conditions, are probably still the best collection of individual talent at the tournament. Spain, under their current setup, have developed a style that's genuinely difficult to disrupt because it's built on positional domination rather than individual moments. You can prepare for a superstar. It's harder to prepare for a team that just keeps finding the right position before you can react to it. Germany are going into 2026 with something to prove domestically and internationally. Brazil still have the attacking talent to be dangerous, even if their tournament record recently has been disappointing. So no, England don't arrive at the tournament with a clear path. The bracket is not going to do them favors. At some point, they'll face a team that is better organized or more tactically specific than they are, and they'll need the individuals to produce at exactly that moment. But here's what I keep thinking about. Since 2018, England have reached a World Cup semi-final, a World Cup quarter-final, and 2 European Championship finals. That's 4 deep tournament runs in 8 years. The players who were on the pitch in the Euro 2024 final, losing to Spain, being outplayed for large parts of it, those players know exactly what that feels like. They know what that level demands. That's not a small thing. Most tournament runs don't come from the team that was best in training or most impressive in the group stage. They come from the team that can handle the weight of the moment when it arrives. England have been tested at that weight more consistently than almost anyone else in European football over the last 8 years. For me, the real question going into 2026 isn't whether England have the talent. They obviously do. The question is whether Tuchel can build a structure that releases that talent in a coherent, connected way, where Bellingham's forward runs and Rice's control and the attacking players around them all feel like parts of the same idea, rather than individual moments held together by effort and hope. If that version of England shows up, they're not just a contender, they're a serious one. If it doesn't, they'll probably still reach the quarterfinals through sheer individual quality, and everyone will argue about whether Southgate was actually good, which honestly is its own kind of tradition at this point. Anyway, 2026 starts soon, and for once, I don't think England should be ashamed to say they're going there to win it.